I was very hesitant to watch Vinland Saga. On the outside in, it just looked like a run-of-the-mill new gen that got everyone hyped. A Viking anime that just seemed kinda mid to me. I hardly watch new anime anymore, and for the longest time I couldn't find anything that genuinely piqued my interest in the same way that Hunter x Hunter did. I guess you can say I'm not a fan of safe stories, safe development, safe personalities. New characters that just simply fit the mold of existing characters of the medium, like your Gokus, your Narutos, your Luffys. My favorites usually have a meaningful, realistic grip to them. I recently read some Berserk, and I love Guts because he represents the idea of perseverance and unyielding rage to carry him forward. And for the longest time, he was my ideal pick for my favorite character, until I watched Vinland Saga. Thorfinn is a complex character in more ways than one. He's as misguided as he is driven, and he's driven by his emotion, and sometimes even lack thereof. He's a character that's so driven by his emotions that he eventually becomes numb to the darkness that surrounds him. The pillaging, the murder, the aspects of war that extinguished any compassion he had. He's so fixated on his one goal that he ignores his own future. This goal is killing Askeladd and avenging his father, who was murdered during the duel between these two. When I watched the first few episodes, I was concerned about the story and how it would be a simple revenge plot. We've definitely seen plenty of those. But the author was trying to convey a message here. A coming-of-age story which revolves around the faults and the guilt of one man who was confused, frustrated, and was once filled with hate, but now emptiness. This may seem like a hot take, and feel free to disagree, but I do believe that characters who create their own impending doom are often more tragic than characters who just have horrible things happen to them. It makes for a more compelling and relatable through line for their development, especially if they're redeemed. Take a character like Anakin Skywalker, aka Darth Vader. He is a tragic character, but not for the reasons you may think. Darth Vader has had some horrible things happen to him in his life. He was a slave on Tatooine, he lost his mother, and he was manipulated by Emperor Palpatine. But what makes Darth Vader a gripping character is the fact that he makes his own decisions. He's controlled by his emotions in the moment, and makes the decision to be a slave again. He makes the decision to kill younglings. He makes the decision to ruin his whole life. He was once the hero of Coruscant, but is now an empty husk with nothing but hate, shame, and loneliness. Now I know what you're thinking. Well, Susie, one's a hero and then the other's a villain. I get that, but the origins of these two characters are still roughly the same, in the sense that they are both controlled by their emotions, and every single decision that they make is based off of these emotions. These emotions coming from the same base, love and hate. Much like Vader, Thorfinn is a character that's driven by love for his father, who had a profound impact on his life. This emotion was later morphed into hatred directed at Askeladd, and later into suffering. Suffering that he would endure for years of constant nightmares of his crimes, and Askeladd egging him on to kill whoever he told him to. This is just Thorfinn fighting his inner demons at a much later point in his life, and this is what makes him a compelling character. It's relatable and it's realistic, because no one's gonna be a quote-unquote hero. Nobody has a perfect 3-episode character arc when something sad happens, and then all of a sudden it gets back to normal because they decided to attain the grit. And depending on what happened, it's hard to get back on your feet. This is a character going through real depression, real emptiness, real emotional trauma that has haunted him ever since he was a kid. When I finished the first season, I wasn't very fond of Askeladd as much as other people were, until I got to see the role he played in Thorfinn's traumas. The atmosphere of the first and second season are completely different, because the show is trying to convey a contrast. We were just as numb as Thorfinn was, seeing violence and war every single episode, people being killed without a second thought, no compassion whatsoever, until something changed, until we realized what it all meant in the end. And in the end, Thorfinn doesn't have anything left, only his father's message. You have no enemies. More and more, Thorfinn reflects on this message and uses it as motivation to redeem himself and become a better person. Honestly, this is as real as it gets, because in the past, Thorfinn didn't care about anything else, and because of this, violence was his first response to any obstacle that was in his way. It was really simple. All he wanted to do was kill Askeladd and nothing else. He didn't think about what would happen afterward, but in the farmland arc, we got to see real change. We finally saw what it meant to him to move forward and become more like his father, the profound impact I was talking about earlier. And because of these reasons, I think it's safe to say that for me, Thorfinn's in the upper echelon when it comes to anime protagonists. It's just a fresh, unique perspective on the revenge trope, and it's done perfectly, and I'm excited to see where the story goes from here. But that's it for me. If you guys like anime analysis content like this, then let me know in the comments. Until then.